Hola, my English-speaking friends. I want to give you some idea about what's happening with my father. I got a lot of comments, both privately and on Facebook, about his fracture, and I just would like to give you more information so that you could enjoy both the fun side of it and not so fun side of it. And please forgive me for walking here in my temple because I have wet hair and the weather outside is cold, so I'll be talking to you and also drying my hair at the same time. Well, it will be drying by itself. So what happened is on the 16th of November, my parents did something extraordinarily smart. They went to the supermarket, to Tops, during those crazy winds. They were like 30 meters per second in international system, and in crazy American system it was about 65-70 miles per hour. And so what happened is they went there because my father ran out of Diet Pepsi, which he so much likes to drink and seems to be his hydration drink of choice. They couldn't do it a couple days before or a couple days after. They had to go in those winds. So what happened is my father was carrying two 3-liter bottles, one in each hand, and they got blown by the wind, and he ran after them. And he ran after them like a teenager, and everything was fine at that time. And the reality is that he had been doing really, really well. So most of you know that he has had liver cancer. He had liver cancer for the last year or so, and been on chemotherapy, and chemotherapy is working. He is actually was pretty peppy, feeling really good. All his tests are kind of normal. Certainly he was in a good mood and stuff like that. So when they got home with these bottles, they have 3 steps in their house, and he lost balance on one of those steps, and rather than just supporting himself with his hands, he fell backwards together with his bottles. And after that, he also bruised his lip. He was bleeding like anything. I don't know how he got that, falling backwards. Also, he must have had he must have hit his head and all that. But the most important thing that happened is that after that he couldn't walk. He could not step on his left foot, left leg, and so that happened like at 10 in the morning, and they told me that something bad happened, but they're dealing with this, and so I let my parents have their independence because I think that's the way to do it. And we've been talking on the phone, and somewhere in the afternoon I realized that we are having a problem. This is not just something that they can solve by themselves. So I went there, and to make a long story short, I asked him if he can avoid doing his business into a diaper, and if he can basically stand up and walk a foot or two, because they have a commode and they can put the commode next to his bed, and I could see that he really could not walk at all. He couldn't basically step on that leg. So I called the fire department, and thank you very much to Nancy for suggesting that. And they came in. They actually remembered him, and they they looked at him and basically said, "You need to go to the hospital to get you checked out." So they took him to the hospital. In the hospital, they did X-rays and CAT scans and EKG and GGG, tra-la-la, and all whole, 9 yards. So the 10th yard, the conclusion of this is that everything is normal. His heart is normal. His blood tests are normal, but he has a fracture in that left hip joint. And after a few days, they transferred him to the rehab, the one on the Route 5. And he has been to that rehab before a couple years ago, when he had his surgery. And these are wonderful people. I've talked to them a million of times, and I have nothing but praises to tell to them. Now, none of them are perfect. The food there is pretty close to terrible. He likes the hospital food much better than the rehab food. Wink, wink to people who like to bring food to him or to my parents. You can probably bring food to the rehab. You probably want to call them and find out if they have to quarantine the food. So it's now been more than 2 weeks. This is Wednesday, 2nd of December. I'm recording this. And we haven't seen him physically, well, for this long, for 2.5 weeks. We talk to him every day, and sometimes he is depressed because his condition is absolutely horrible, in the sense that he has to pee, and not just pee under himself. He is not allowed to get up. He cannot get up. Sometimes they sit him up. He also needs to go through 2 weeks of quarantine, which is actually should be done tomorrow or after tomorrow. I don't know how the count. He arrived on Thursday to the rehab, and tomorrow is Thursday. And sometimes he is depressed by his condition. Sometimes, like today, he's in a very good mood. I talked to him for quite a while about everything from politics to his concert. By the way, if you're interested in his latest performances, if you go on to my account on Facebook, I have it listed. You have to friend me, because I generally do not make anything on Facebook public. The only public things that I post are the 2 YouTube channels that I have. He's treated very well. I'm very happy with what I hear. These people are very professional. They seem to be really kind and concerned. The only thing which is a little bit interesting is that a couple times we got phone calls that my father is dying. It's like every time he's depressed and doesn't want to talk to them, they assume that he's dying. It's like they expect someone who is a creative and a rather emotional person not to have emotions, and anytime he doesn't have emotions, he's dying. Anytime he is happy and enjoying himself, kind of in that place, I don't know how you can really enjoy yourself, then in that situation he's doing fine. So I call him up, and my mother calls him up, and we try to cheer him up, basically trying to be as supportive as possible. I mean, this is not the greatest situation in the world, even if not for the pandemic. This is one of those situations where really God only knows what is the best thing, one way or another. But the bottom line of it is that it would have been nice to see him, but we haven't seen him. And there we go. And he will have to be there until either he can walk with strong painkillers that would require some physical therapy that will start after the quarantine is over, which is going to be in the next day or so, etc. Or if the fracture is such that he really cannot put any pressure on it, which is a possibility, then he will have to be there in bed until this thing heals. And there we go. I think this is the best we can do, considering under the current circumstances. I think that everything is moving forward smoothly, even though this is not the greatest fun thing that can happen to anyone. And thank you for watching. You have all a very nice day, and do care for yourself, because things sometimes happen that we cannot foresee. Bye.